Start start the recording. Okay, we're recording.
This, boys.
Okay, cool.
All right, memes to a minimum. Memes to a minimum.
Whatever I did or did not do, it worked.
Stick Wizard is lit.
So
All right, I will be reading chat, but I will not be replying to chat.
it'll be
And
slow
unless
replies, more than
unless
likely.
it's some of the shit that you say is like, you know what? You might not get your credit, but you got your credit, just know that. But I might say it, you know what I'm saying? You hear me say it, just know, just be in the chat like that's me. That's me right there.
It's me.
That's me. I said that. That's me.
All right, so episode one. It's not going to be much. You'll see how it goes. Have a little bit of itinerary for what we want to talk about. Mainly just how this is going to go, where it's going to go, stuff like that.
I will say if you don't want to hear things you need to hear, then this is not for you.
No, because it's gonna be
To
a lot of
some
shit that people don't want to talk about.
to some people it's going to be a therapy in a way
Yeah, yeah,
to hear the things that they need to hear, or it with the amount of shit that people go through, it's probably some shit that they might be going through and they don't know how to express it. And maybe we've relived the same situation and we know how to express it or try to express it even. So,
yeah. Or I mean, vice versa. Like there could be shit that we are personally dealing with that
and maybe
somebody else
somebody
has gone through.
knows, yep, somebody knows the stuff that we need to hear that could potentially help us.
It's very true. As far as like specific topics, we'll brainstorm every week. Um, really just kind of gonna wing it for a while until we get something stable.
And our strict rules is personal life to an extent. I will not talk about work. I will try my best to not talk about work. A lot of that revolves around my stress, but I will not talk about work, and we will absolutely, under no circumstances, talk about politics.
Yes, it's very
Whatever is going on in the outside world does not matter to me.
if we do have a Discord. There's going to be rules on that too. But if you want to do a one-on-one with someone, there's VCs specifically for that. Talk about whatever you want. I don't care. But that's not on me. That's at your own discretion. Um, or Link for that matter. He's not going to take any uh, responsibility for any arguments that get started because of differing viewpoints. The whole point of this, right, is supposed to be to give a safe outlet for a lot of people to keep, mainly just to keep people from feeling so alone, man. Like that's the big thing is like it's free therapy. It's free therapy.
Yeah.
It's an opportunity to network with people that
Well, well,
have,
free therapy in the sense that like not everybody wants to like go talk to somebody. There's people out there that like what makes them feel better is hearing the fact that they're not the only person dealing with something.
yeah, exactly. And with that being said, neither of us are medical professionals. We cannot give you medical advice. That's sort of a given. I'm working on it personally, but as of right now, I cannot give you medical advice. I'm going to give you personal
Legally.
advice. Um, but if you take it, you take it. If you don't, you don't.
Right. Yeah. Hey, it's all up to the person themselves to take what they want and run with it. So,
Exactly. So you may know us from our streaming, play a lot of video games. I go by the name of Manic. Obviously, that's not my name. My name is Steven. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't really have any credentials to give anybody therapy just yet. So I'm not doing that. I'm not saying that I can do that, but
Yeah, right, right. I would
yeah,
like to say before I introduce myself, because everybody hears me talk about my brother Manic. That's my boy. That's my dog. That's whatever I call him. This is that man. And there was plenty of times that we will probably talk about that this man has been there for me when I didn't want to go to anybody and when I didn't even want it. So, but as everybody on my Twitch knows me and on Discord, they know me as Link. Again, not my real name, but a lot of people do know my real name is actually Alex. You can call me Link, Alex. I really don't care. To me, in my brain, as a meme, but halfway true, they are two different people. You will get the real version of me every time you see me, but when I am playing Link, I am playing Link. I am low key putting on a persona for the content for the whatever that I'm doing when I'm in my own personal streaming endeavors. So, but either name works. It's the same person.
yeah,
Just
and
my mindset tunes a little bit differently when I'm on screen as Link.
yeah, because yeah, like you said, it is a persona. It is a way to express yourself without having a whole lot of repercussion. I mean, there's repercussions, but it's just a more creative way to express yourself. Um, and it makes it easier to be honest with yourself as that person, you know?
Well, see, the reason I say that in my mind they're two different people is because it's like I turn this computer off, I go in the other room, the wife is not calling me Link. My job's not calling me Link. My family doesn't call me Link. I have some family, quote unquote family, that do call me Link, but just because it's easier to say Link than it is to say Alex. But I treat it that way so that I can keep the content creation or business as I would like it to be separate from the personal. So when I clock out, quote unquote clock out, when I turn off this computer and this stream's not up, then I'm no longer in that content mode where everything has to be unserious, it has to be funny or whatever it is. Like I turn the computer off. I'm not playing video games anymore. I'm in real life now. Like I got to deal with the things that I need to deal with.
Which I mean,
That's
you have
why,
to do that anyway, but you know, it's
yeah,
it's part of it. It's a good way to separate that work-life balance.
yeah. Which if
If
anybody wants any stroke of advice for that, the biggest thing that helps me is I keep very minimum things on my phone that relates to Link. Like, yes, Discord is on my phone, but that's because of the stuff that I have to do. But like, you will not really see me uploading videos to my YouTube account with that name. It will be my personal name. I don't. I try to keep it separate. So like, the phone's always with me, but the computer's not always with me. So I keep those things separate. So find something that keep it separate. Like, I mean, yeah, if you want it to work, you want it to work. Make it. Do it how you want. It's just that's what works best for me because it gives me that reset.
it gives you the chance to, tune in and tune out when you
Yeah,
when you want to, yeah.
yeah. Because anything outside of that door behind me is between me and whoever's behind that door. So if I decide to share it, I decide to share it. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But
Fair
and
enough.
that's
Fair enough.
that's kind of the deeper meaning of what all this is about. You know, consider when you
Yeah.
press play on this, that is the door that you are going into to hear or talk about whatever it is you want to hear about, whatever it is you want to talk about. If it ain't this episode, it might be next episode. Either way, but and then when it's done playing, you're back outside of that door. You know, take it with you, leave it there. It's up to you.
And to kind of caveat off of what you just said about things to talk about, we definitely want to know what you guys want to hear us talk about. We're gonna have a list of our own, specific things that we would like to mention, but at the same time, the whole point is not for us to do this. It's for us to do this for the viewers. That's
Right.
that's literally the entire point. So we need to know topics that you guys would like to dive into and ways to do that. Discord, Twitter, Instagram,
Yep.
the YouTube comment section. I mean, there's going to be a plethora of ways
Yeah.
to get a hold of us
I
for,
mean,
that reason. Don't be spamming. Don't be blowing us up. We have lives. We have work.
yeah.
We have, I have kids. We have stuff that we have to do. So be mindful of that.
Again, that's back to the everything outside of that door. You know.
I think this is like the biggest thing is this is for us, or this is a good way for us to kind of break down that wall that we put up when we get on the internet and, we're
Right.
having these
Right.
really strange conversations. Because truth be told, the only person that I've ever really been able to tell like the honest truth is with Alex. And not get like shit for it. Um,
Yeah.
or not feel like I'm like trauma dumping on someone or, I'm being a
Or
burden.
yeah, I was gonna say, or
So
feeling like a burden.
yeah, because most of the time it's like it's really hard to mention certain things to other people, especially people you don't know as well, right? Like we've
Right.
known each other for what,
12,
over a decade
thir-
now, I can say
12,
that.
13, 12, 13 years.
Yeah, so
I'm
I
I'm
mean,
going on 28. I think we met when I was like 17, something like that.
yeah, that's about right. Because I'm
Probably
going on
younger than that.
29, so
Yeah.
I mean, needless to say, we're comfortable telling each other the things that we need to hear, not the things that we want to hear.
Yeah.
And
Because
it's funny that that comes up too, because I had a friend the other day. Uh, I told him something, and he was like, "Why do you hate me? Why do you never agree with me?" And I
you
and I
told me
told him
about this.
exactly that. I was like, "Friends don't tell friends, true friends, what they want to hear. They tell them what they need to hear." And
Right.
he just kind of was like, "Damn, you're right."
I mean, there's there's a time when you sometimes you got to tell your friend what they want to hear, and then there's a time where you just absolutely have to tell them what they need to hear. Like, and sometimes there's friends that you talk to, they say, "Hey, I'm going through some stuff. This is what's on my mind." And that's all they want. They just want you to hear what's on their mind.
Yeah.
So it's all it's I mean, I can't really give you a pie chart or a how to of like when and when not to say what you want to hear and what they need to hear, but it's just something you kind of like okay, let me tell him what he needs to hear. If he's not really liking that or they're not really liking that, then okay, you know let me just sympathize or whatever. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what they want. They just want a shoulder. Like you gotta know the battles that you gotta
Yeah, I think one of the biggest and like most important things about being emotionally intelligent, right, is being able to not only hear what the person's saying, but listen to what they're saying.
right.
Because most of the time, um,
Because there is a
the
big
reason,
difference between there's a big difference between hearing it and actually listening.
yes, and I tell people this all the time, and I don't think a lot of people kind of grasp the concept. But the
Yeah.
biggest part of therapy, right, is listening. And even if it's not like traditional counseling, where you actually go to a place and talk to a licensed psychologist or a licensed therapist.
Right.
Listening is a big part of one, having the other person express themselves correctly, two, understanding how they feel, and kind of working with that and helping them to get better. You know, if you can't listen to someone, then obviously there's a part of you that just doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Which it sucks to say that. It really does, because there's
I
a lot of
can.
people that I've had listen to me, or well, I've had hear me vocalize what I was going through, but
Right.
they didn't listen.
I can say for me personally, if I hit you up and I'm like, man, I'm going through it. This is going wrong. That's going wrong. I'm not happy with this, and I whatever it is, and I get like, oh, I'm sorry, I had to deal with that too, or I just lost somebody too. Like, as much as this sounds terrible, it's just how I am as a person. I am going through it right now. I don't necessarily care that you also dealt with that or you also lost that. Like, I don't really care. I don't want to hear about that. I want you to tell me it's all good. Like, you can mention it, be like, hey, yeah, it sucked when I lost such and such too, but things do get better. That's fine. But when I'm telling you something and you're like, everything you say back is just, oh, I've done it too, I've dealt with it too, I don't care. I don't That's not helping me.
It's the difference between like sympathizing with someone and like genuinely sympathizing with someone, or making the conversation about you.
Right.
Because it's easy to relate to people in a lot of different ways, especially when like, traumatic events happen.
Right.
But it's not easy to relate and to help them come out of where they're feeling, right? Because if you can relate, then you know how they're feeling. You know, or at least generally, you
Right.
know kind of where they're at. But getting them back out of it, like a good
Yeah.
question that I usually ask myself is like, okay, when I was here, how
What helped
how did
me?
I want someone to get me out of it? Or how did I
Right.
get myself out?
Right.
Because, ultimately, like humans are their greatest enemies
Oh
the
yeah.
majority of the time. You can either use that as motivation, or it could quite literally kill you.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's sad to say, but it's the harsh truth in that sense.
I can say, at least between the both of us, like, whenever one of us is going through it like that, me and you both know what we want when one of us go to the other about whatever it is. Like, hey, bro, tell me what I would tell you if the roles were reversed. Like, tell me what I need to hear.
Yeah.
Like, don't sugarcoat it. And then, like, yeah, there's those times where it's just like, hey, this is how I look at it. If it was me, like, sometimes that helps though. Like, I won't really dive into like what Steven had hit me up with recently. I will let him decide if he wants to talk about that. But he hit me up and I was just like, bro, look, you all you can do right now is just take care of the things that are actually in your control. Like, you put it out there of what you needed to put out there. Now just do what you can, bro. And then he said something about, I think it was you that said something about like the books and stuff. And I was like, well, bro, you don't just stop the book. You don't stop the trilogy. You don't just stop it, bro. You just take
Yeah.
a break. Let the book write itself for a moment, bro. And I kid you not, this man pauses and he goes, bro, you sound like me. Like, where do you think I get it from? Where do you think I get it from, bro?
But yeah, with
Like,
that being
that's
said, right, a little background between like mine and his relationship. When we started really hanging out and kind of getting to know each other, I lived with him for quite a while. And
like 3 years. Yeah, he lived with me for like 3 years.
yeah, so he didn't really know too much about how my brain operated and like my thought process. And so I would hit him with this like really philosophical things that and probably at the time was hard for you to understand. But now he throws it right back at me. And sometimes it'd be pissing me off. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it irritates me. But I know it's important. I know that that's what I need.
Right.
Because,
Well,
like I said, at the end of the day, we are our own worst enemy.
yeah. For I will say the thing that like really I don't want to say like set it off for me because that kind of sounds bad, but like the thing that like really put it into perspective, just like, all right, this guy Steven is like he's like not just my best friend, but like this man actually fucking cares about me. Is and I know you remember this night. So my grandma had just passed away, and I called him. This was when he still lived out here, but I called him and I was like, bro, I don't want to go on a ride. Like it was like 3 a.m., dude. I was like, I just want to go on a ride. I just want to do something. Like I had to get my mind off of it, bro. So we pull up on the river and we sit on the hood of my car for like 4 hours, bro. It was like 6 a.m. when I got home. So probably not 4 hours, but regardless, it was like 6 a.m. when I got home anyway. And I just randomly started talking about stuff like, like this kind of stuff sucks. Like I was like talking about how I do wish that I actually had a father. I wish I had the chance, but he made that decision and that's on him. I just have to learn to live with it. It sucks, but we were talking about that. I was talking about how like I'm just really mentally not there because I lost my grandma. And he spent a good 45 minutes just listening before he was like, like, hey, I was doing that too. It sucked when I lost those people. Like these are the things that, kind of help me keep my mind off of it. Like I don't I don't like to say it because I don't think I actually would have done it, but I do think in the back of my mind that that was the night that I probably would have done something that I should not have done, that I shouldn't do. And that man was there for me and saved my fucking life. Like, and I have goosebumps off of it because that definitely was the night where I was just like, I need somebody. I still don't know if this guy's. I've known him for at that time. I've known you for what, like 5, 6 years.
Yeah, something like that.
Like I knew him really well. We hung out all the time. At that point, he'd already like lived with us and everything. So it's like I knew him real well. It wasn't like I just went to some random person. It was like, hey, bro, I need some help. I went to somebody I knew, but yeah, that was definitely the night where I was like, all right, this guy's blood brother. Like he actually cares. He's actually willing to help, even though he himself is going through some stuff right now.
Yeah, yeah, because at the time I was kind of going through it. Of course, it wasn't to the gravity of your situation. Losing a loved one is always a really hard thing to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, just having that. So I didn't have that support system when I was young. I had lost my grandfather when I was 16, and I didn't have that. And so I remember thinking when we were having that conversation, it kind of stayed in the back of my mind. It wasn't really an active thought; it was more passive. But I remember thinking, how would I have wanted someone to be there for me when I lost one of my grandparents?
Right.
And that was, I mean, I probably could have, navigated the conversation a little bit better. Um, but at the same time, it was like this is what I would have wanted. So that was the whole point.
Right.
But I mean,
On a lighter
life,
note, I will never forget that same night. We uh we we both sat there and both of us are, you know, we're gun owners, so we carry them and whatnot,
I knew you were going to mention this.
but
I knew you were going to
but
mention this.
yeah, on a lighter note, right? So we're both sitting on the hood of my car and it goes quiet for a second because we've done had the deep conversation.
Hold up, let's put the setting. So we were parked at a boat ramp. So the
Yeah.
ramp led right
One
into the
that's
water.
one that's not used anymore, mind
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
So it's like the like runway or whatever is
yeah.
like all kinds of messed up, cracks all in it. Like you get to the bottom and it's just dirt now.
Yeah,
Like
but it led
and
straight into the water. And
Yeah,
so
so we're sitting on the hood of my car with the car like this, pretty much. Maybe not that steep, but like sitting like that. So so like my brakes give out, my parking brake gives out, we're in the water. But but yeah. So we had that whole deep conversation and we're sitting on the hood of my car, just quiet for like 10 minutes, probably longer. And I'm looking at the water. And at that point, I was thinking about my grandpa because that that specific place that we went is where he always used to take me when I was younger. But I look at it and I'm like, what if I just unloaded every round in this gun into that water right now? Like, and this man looks at me and he goes, "Yeah, what if we did?"
oh man.
So, needless to say, I just started. No, we didn't. We didn't actually do it,
No, 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 we
but
did. We did.
it was a heavy what if, and we definitely thought about doing it.
And I think at the time it was necessary because, we both needed some type of relief
Yeah,
and we needed to do it in a safe way. And so the first thought was kind of like, damn,
just shoot
okay,
into
well,
the
this
water.
wouldn't hurt anyone.
Yeah,
I
just
mean,
shoot into the
it
water.
might get us,
In
arrested,
trouble.
but
Yeah, maybe. You know.
and at the end of the story, I will explain how we left. But yeah, it might get us arrested. It might get us in a little bit of trouble, but ultimately it wasn't going to hurt anybody, and except maybe our pockets for the rounds that we would have spent. But
Yeah, which I a little bit
it
of pocket. You
it
know,
was whatever,
it's fine.
it didn't
Yeah,
matter.
I'd rather it be some money than somebody or myself. So
But yeah, the so so the only reason why realistically, because we were in a pretty we were just outside of the city, but still within city limits. The only reason why I really would have got us in trouble is because at the time there was actually uh, one of the local police department officers in the parking lot, and
yeah,
they pulled up and they asked like, "Hey, what are you doing?" It was like, "Oh, we're just sitting here talking," and it was like, "Oh, well, the park closes at I think it was like 11 or something, 10 or 11."
11. It was like 11, and we were there at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. So they were like, "Yeah, you can't be here right now." I was like, "Oh, yeah, my bad. Sorry about that." And we got it and we drove away. But
Yep.
at the end of the night, both of us felt way better, and it was literally just about talking and having someone to listen and relate a little bit.
Like I mean, like I said, bro, like what that is definitely the night that even though I wouldn't even want to say it's like I don't have the balls to do it because that's kind of a messed up thing to say. But like I know it's not helping the situation to do anything to yourself. It just puts the problem onto somebody else.
Yeah.
And I know some of y'all are probably gonna hate to hear that, but that's just the honest truth. Like, but even though I know I wasn't gonna do it, but we all have those thoughts. It's just human nature. That's definitely the night that I can proudly say that this man saved my life for sure. Like if I wouldn't have done anything to myself, then I would have definitely never seeked anything. If I wouldn't have finally just said, you know what, bro, I'm just gonna say something. But either he helps me or he doesn't. You know, it's not gonna change the fact that we're friends, but he's here. I'm going through it. Let me see if you at least listen. So yeah, I can definitely say that's a, a very big moment in my life where I was like, yeah, this guy's he'll save my life, and I'll do the same. I will do the same over and over.
Hope so. I mean, you've showed it to me, so
Yeah,
you've
and
definitely
it
you've definitely proven it to me.
and for anybody out there with like a friend or a friend group that is at least similar to how we are with how close we are, how open we are, like don't ever don't ever treat giving help to your friend as a oh if I help him he'll help me when I'm going through something because it's not about that, bro. It's about the fact that they came to you to listen, you listened, you helped, and that's it, bro. That should be enough satisfaction for anything.
Yeah.
I don't need the money.
Just to know that that person's going to be alive for one more day because of you,
Yeah,
that should be enough.
exactly. Look, I at the end of the day it's like I don't you don't need to pay me in some kind of way like food or like oh you helped me out here lunch, like I don't need that. And and quite frankly, it doesn't have to result in continuing the friendship. If what I told you you didn't like to hear and you decide you don't want to be friends with me because you don't want to hear what you need to hear, then so be it. But I know personally that when you walk away from this conversation and you decide to never hit me up again, everything that I just told you is going to be in the back of your mind for a very long time.
Yep.
You're going to be like, "Damn, maybe Alex was right. Like maybe what he said is true."
I actually just recently went through a conversation with someone quite similar. Ultimately, to kind of round it all up and just make it really brief, I did tell them, I was like, hey, I will always be your friend. I'll always be here to tell you what you need to hear and, whenever you need to talk about whatever. And ultimately, I knew that same feeling wasn't going to be reciprocated, but it didn't matter, right? Because being there for someone, regardless of who it is, it doesn't matter if it's your friend or not, is genuinely the right thing to do. It's
Yeah.
it's always going to be the right thing to do. I mean, I couldn't tell you how many stories I've heard of um, people that have had tendencies that weren't necessarily healthy. If they
Right.
just had someone there to listen, that would have probably helped out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a big thing. That's a really big thing. And not the whole I have to ask for help. The being able to see it on their face when you see them in the morning
Mm-hmm.
or the way that they move, the way that they
And
act, body language is a big part of it too.
you know what? To touch on that real quick, because I just thought about it. I got homework for y'all, right? Because not everybody wants to openly say they need help, or even if they say don't say they need help, they just start telling you this is what I'm going through. Like some people don't want to do that. So like get on the internet, look up like signs or flags or whatever you want to word it of like how to how to even remotely tell that somebody's going through it, you know. And it's I mean it's kind of easy. Like you'll see habits change, you'll see them start doing this and that. If they hit you up every day and now they're hitting like every other day, like maybe something's going on, you know. Just
Yeah.
check on your friends, bro. Check on your family. Like that's y'all's homework.
Even if it's people that you haven't and okay, so this is a big reason why. Even if it's people that you haven't talked in years, but at one point in time you guys were cool, whether you were just acquaintances or you went to school together, whatever, or you worked together, whatever. Check on those people too,
Yeah.
because yes, you guys are different. You guys have changed since you last known each other. But at the same time, more than likely, they gave you something in your life you may not have even realized it
Hmm.
that helped you out a lot. And it's funny because the same thing happened to me. Like, what was it, like 2 weeks ago or something
I
like
think
that?
so. I think
Yeah.
so. You talking about
And
when you came down here last?
yeah.
This
And
last
ever
weekend.
since then, my life has changed so much. It dramatically changed.
Hmm.
And
And I see it.
it's it's real it's absolutely unreal the presence that someone could have in your life that you didn't expect.
Right.
The world doesn't work on your hopes and dreams. It doesn't.
Now
It never has.
now of course with what he's talking about, again, I will let him talk about it if he wants to, but of course I'm going to give him jokes about it. That's, you know, friendly banter. That's my brother. I'm always going to give him some kind of something for whatever, but like I told that person, like I told that person cuz they were asking me questions. I don't care if my brother is happy, I am happy. I don't care. Like he could be with whoever, he could be hanging out with whoever, doing whatever. I don't care. As long as he's happy, I'm happy. That's all that matters to me. Because I mean, he's a grown man. He can do what he wants. He's gonna do what he wants. And who am I to stop him?
Sure.
And if it's something bad, the most you can actually do is just try to stop. Like if their
Yeah.
mind's set, their mind's set, you know?
Which, yeah, you have you have tried to deter me from certain things, even though you knew that it wasn't going to matter what you said. You still
Yeah.
tried. You
But
still tried.
it's the fact that you called me and was like, I need you. Okay.
Yeah.
So spill it out. Let's hear it, you know? I don't care if it's 1 o'clock in the morning and I need to work tomorrow. I'll go to work with no sleep. Like I'm not worried about that.
Done that quite a bit the past week.
Yep.
Very, very little sleep. But I'm used to operating on very little sleep anyway. Either way. The
Yeah.
whole point being, right, is,
That's a sign. That's a sign. It can be. It can be a sign. But
we're gonna talk offline about this. But the whole point being, right, is reach out to someone, man. Like you're not alone. There are so many people in this world that 9 times out of 10 they know what you're feeling, even if they haven't gone through what you've gone through.
hmm
So don't think that you're alone. Once uh obviously once this episode airs, we're only streaming it because it's kind of the sneak preview sort of thing. The episode will air on Monday after everything is set up. So the Discord will also be changed a little bit if you guys join the Discord. Um, there's going to be resources, there's going to be different things that you can interact with that could help at the very least get your
Right.
mind off of like your problems, man. Your problems aren't, even though you deal with them, your problems aren't you,
Yeah.
you know? They're 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 part of your life. They're part of what you have to deal with on a daily basis, but they don't
hmm
define who you are. It's the way that you react to them that defines who you are.
hmm
It took me a long time to figure that out.
Something that, and I don't remember when my mom ever told me this, but something that's always helped me is from her life experience. She has told me that every time something like bad happens, like whether it's like you lose your job or your car breaks down or you lost $20, whatever it is, my mom always said from her life experience, every time something bad happens, it came in threes. For her, it that's just how she always seen it. Every time something happened, it would be another thing and then another thing. But then after those three happened, something really good would happen. So she always used to tell me they come in threes, but those three setbacks, you're due for a good comeback. So just because you're set back does, not everybody's going to finish the race at the same time. It's just the fact that you finished the race.
It's very true. That is very chat clip that. That's very true.
Yeah,
It's
you
I
don't
can
have
think
to
of
be in first place.
I think I can think of some scenarios that I fairly recently went through where things just kind of compounded a lot, all back to back to back. And once you kind of get past that, once you kind of work through how you feel and you at least talk to someone or at the very least write it down somewhere or get it out somehow.
hmm
Once you start to sort of marinate in that and then bring yourself out of it, you start to realize, I don't really like using this word, but you start to kind of realize the blessings that you have and the good things in life that await you.
hmm Or,
Because I heard a quote, I don't know if Tom Hanks said it, but I heard him say it. I don't know if he came up with it, but when you're feeling sad and you're upset and you're depressed, this too shall pass. But also at the same time, when you're happy and you feel like you're on top of the world and you feel like you can do anything, this too shall pass. So
you
life
know,
is about ups and downs. It's meant to do that. It's meant to do that because that's the only way that you can become a better person. If you stay where you're at, you'll never grow.
Right.
If life's too hard and you stay there, then it's always going to be hard. You're not going to be a stronger person. If life's too easy and you stay where you're at, then you're never going to become a stronger person. So
Exactly.
you got to kind of think about that.
Exactly. And to like touch on something that you said about like how you handle the things and stuff like that. The recent thing that he called me about, um this man, y'all will learn in time, has read so many books. Probably he's probably read more books in a week than I have in my entire life. So I've seen his book collection, but he's all about the books. So I remember a long time ago, my wife had got a burn book. And if anybody doesn't know what that is, you can look it up. But it is essentially just like a diary. You write whatever it is you want to write in there, what you're feeling, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? And then at the end of the book, you destroy it, you burn it, you rip it up, you do certain things. I think the one specifically that my wife had was you like write down whatever it is on that page, and that page specifically tells you what to do with that. So, considering how heavy is the books, and he seen that we had that my wife had that, he was like, I don't like that. I don't think you should deface books like that. And I agree with him, but you know, it is what it is. So when we were talking, I was like, bro, just use it as a new beginning. This is what I want you to do. I want you, because I know how much you're gonna hate to do this. Go get a burn book. He's like, well, maybe I won't buy a burn book, but I'll go get like a composition or something and do it. I'm like, bro, write everything in there, burn it, rip it, whatever. I don't care what it is, but do it. Do something that you would never normally do, because maybe that will help you. You know, like in a way, wash away all the things or burn away all the things that have been a burden or an issue to you.
And it's funny because I told you what when I went out and got it, I told you I'm gonna fill it completely full before I do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized as heavy as like what I was feeling and how I felt like it was just I was never gonna be able to get out of it. As I was writing, the more and more I was writing down, I realized that I didn't have a whole lot to write down anymore. I think I got maybe 30 pages into it, just
That, that's
quick phrases,
that's a
and
lot
then
then.
I was like, I think this is it. Like I think this is done. And I ripped them all out and I went out and I burned it.
Yeah.
And I still have the notebook just in case, but
Yeah. Just in case we
it
need to
was
take two.
just in case. Yeah, it's always going to be a backup because it does help. It does help to get it out and it helps to visually see it go away. Even if it's not, even if you don't see any super dramatic changes in your life, just to know that your problems are there
Mm-hmm.
and you're physically getting rid of something.
Right.
It's a big weight lifted.
And you know, the worst thing to do when somebody's going through something is to force them to do anything because they don't want to do anything that you are trying to make them. But that was the only thing, because I know how much like writing in journals and reading books and all that, like I know how much that means to 'em. So I was like, well, I know how much all of this is meaning to you too. So, you know, find a way to get rid of it. This is the only thing I demand you to do. And I did say that. I said, I
Yeah,
demand you to do this. This isn't just homework. You have to do it. And he was like, you know what, bro? I'm gonna just do it. Like, I don't want to burn a book, but I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna just get a little notebook. But it's the
yeah.
same thing because any notebook can be your journal.
What is that? Just to prove it. Oh, sorry. This this helped a lot. It's empty now because I did what I needed to do, but it was enough. Just a little act. I think that cost me maybe $2.
Mm.
And anything that I wrote in it, nobody else had to know. So
Nope.
there's plenty of ways to relieve yourself of the stress and that heaviness that you
And
think that is just going to be too much.
you know what? Here's the thing. Even though how close we are, and I consider you a brother, and all that, like he calls my mom. Like that's how close we are.
Yeah.
I I don't need to know what he wrote. And quite frankly, as bad as it sounds, I don't care what he wrote. It's between him and that notebook, him and his thoughts.
Yep.
He wrote whatever he needed to wrote. He told me what he wanted to tell me, and that's fine. You don't have to let everything out to anybody, you know?
You don't. And that goes for good feelings too, right? Some good feelings are just meant for you. Other
Yeah.
people can't experience it the way that you do.
Yeah.
So,
Because I mean it's in a way it's like inside jokes, bro. Like you kind of had to be there, you know?
mhm. Yeah.
Like I can tell you that like oh my you know my car broke down and it's the only thing I ever have to do this and do that and it hurts you that bad, but they're not going to feel the same way cuz they're currently in their car driving to work, you know?
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like when you're going through this, you can't expect it of someone to feel that way right then and there, right? Because one, that's kind of selfish because you know how you feel. You know
Right.
how you feel, how, especially if it's a negative emotion, you know how
Yeah.
bad you feel, so, you shouldn't expect someone else to feel that way.
Well, yeah, and
Um,
that's I mean that's just wrong too. Like I feel bad so you need to feel bad. No, that's not how that works.
yeah, that's not okay because then
You
it's not helping you at
right.
all,
I
and it's
feel
just making
bad,
someone else
so
feel
help me
worse.
make. Yeah, I feel bad, so help me feel better, please. Like,
And on the other side of the coin, right, is, good feelings. You can't expect someone to always feel the same way you feel. I mean, if they do, great. I mean, that's
mm-hmm,
that's a wonderful thing. Enjoy that.
mm-hmm.
But you can't force someone else to see your viewpoint. You can't
You,
force someone else to have your same level of emotional intelligence.
right.
Um,
And you
you
know
just
what?
can't.
It's 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 crazy you say that too, because like when you called me that night, I was like, bro, look at everything you have, like everything that you've done. Like when you go to where you're going, you're getting promoted, and this man, like I feel like I could feel him looking at me and just looking me dead in my face and going, but I don't care. But you do care. In the
Yeah.
back of your mind, you do care. Like, and even if you don't, bro, I do. Like, I'm very, very proud of you. Like, I've had people be like, you sound more proud of your brother than your own wife. Well, my wife didn't have it very hard growing up. So, like, I have a lot more to be proud of my brother Steven because of everything he's done with his life. Like, a complete turnaround. He called me
Yep.
one day and was like, we hadn't talked for like what 2 years because you were out in Indiana,
Mhm.
and he called me. He was like, yeah, bro, I've been in college. I've been doing. I was like, wait, hold on, stop talking college. What the fuck, dude? Holy shit! And he
Yeah.
was like, yeah, for psychology. I was like, what the fuck, bro? Like, I was so happy, bro, to hear that this man was like, I'm not doing these things no more. I'm not doing that no more. I'm in school going for this. Like, bro, that's a lot to be proud of. Like the honestly, he's doing more than I ever would have done. Like, let's be honest. I mean, I do a lot for myself and for my family and shit, but this man, like, here's the bar, and the way I look at it, he probably doesn't, but here's the bar. The bar is he's past it, bro. He's past it. I didn't think he would be nothing, but to be the something that he is now, holy shit, bro. So
And
yeah, I have a lot of good things to say about where he's at now.
that's the thing that sucks too, right? Is well, first to start with the conversation that we had had when I said that I don't care. Uh, that was I was in a I was at a point where I was sort of blinded,
Mm-hmm.
and
It was a real dark. It was a real dark patch.
yeah, and I had said that I'd give it all away, and ultimately I'm glad that someone was there to kind of sort of talk some sense into me because if I did, then it would have all been for nothing.
Exactly.
It would have been all for nothing. And
Exactly. And like I told you, I'll be damned if it's all for nothing.
exactly. So,
So,
but also when you're doing good, you don't see it that way. Especially if you think anything like me, you're really self-critical, um you're constantly striving to do better, whether it be like mentally or physically or spiritually, whatever it is, when you're doing good, you can't see it because being you're constantly sort of thinking back of how much better you can do and not really
right.
thinking back of like, damn, this is where I came from versus
Hmm.
this is where I'm going or this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
It again, that's something that took me a long self-reflective conversation with myself to realize how far I'd come and the obstacles that were in the way that at the time I thought I wasn't going to get through, I did. And hindsight's always 2020. They say that all the time. But it's important to have that support system that can consistently remind you, hey, keep it up, keep doing what you're
Right.
doing, keep going, don't stop. And
Well,
I
like
mean, because mainly without that, dude, you will end up like hurting yourself in the sense that like you're gonna stop your progress.
right. And I mean, like you said to me, you were like, "Bro, I'm just doing my job." I mean, yeah, you are, but like it's more than that.
It is. It is more
Like
than
it's a lot deeper than that. It's not so much that you're also just doing your job. Like I tell you all the time because I feel like this is the biggest reminder to give you when you are going through something. It's like, bro, you're not just doing the job because of the money, because you like the job or any of that, bro. You're doing it because you have two kids that you want to provide for, that you want to give everything that you probably didn't have.
yeah.
So to give them a life that you wanted, and regardless of all of that, to just be a father, bro, to be present and take care of the two things that you made, that you helped made or make. Terrible grammar,
Yeah.
but
Help me. Come on.
yeah. So like yeah, when you get promoted at work, you're just like, oh yeah, well, like I busted my ass for it. I got what I earned. But to to some people, bro, it's like, bro, I remember when you started, you were just you bottom of the barrel, you know.
Yeah.
So like
I mean,
when you told me you were choosing that job, I was like, no way, bro. Like really? But you know, I would much rather you take care of your business than to be active in my life. Like I'm fine with you being active or inactive in my life. It's you've got two big priorities. So like
and
even if you're
well,
going
three
through
actually.
something,
Three,
yeah,
and I've just kind of found this one again.
right.
Yourself. When you have things that you have to take care of, you can't forget to put yourself up there in the list of priorities.
Oh
Because the
yeah,
moment you do,
always.
you start giving away too much of yourself, and there's nothing left of you. Now, that's not to say to be selfish, but you can't help anybody if you're
If you don't help
broken and
yourself.
you're, going through it.
You know, uh, you saying that makes me think of some stuff that I've talked to my wife about and that I've probably talked to you about. You can't truly love somebody or something or anything for that matter if you don't truly love yourself.
That's very
I
true.
just like others might see it differently, but that's the way I see it. Like if you're not happy with who you are, that's whatever, but how do you expect me to be happy with how Steven is if I'm not
Yeah.
really happy with how I am? Because then I'm gonna see all the great things that he's doing and all the stuff that he gets and whatever. And I'm like, dang, bro, like I'm not even doing that. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's not worth anything. Like you can't truly love something until you love yourself.
Yeah.
So
And it,
If you
Dude, I'm
have
almost
to,
29 years old, and I don't think I really started feeling that way until like this past year,
right.
where I was like, I need to, I need to do these things to make my life better, which would in turn make the people that I care about their
Mm-hmm.
lives better.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's like a big, big part of it, right? You can't, you can't help someone else if you can't help yourself.
Exactly. Exactly.
And it kind of sort of sucks to say sometimes because a lot of people like I'll be completely honest, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I will if you respect me then and appreciate me for, doing whatever it is I do, whether it be for you or for someone else. Um, if you can respect that and appreciate that, then that gets reciprocated. That I
Exactly.
will give that back.
Exactly.
Um, the biggest problem is a whole lot of people don't think about that anymore. They don't think
Yeah.
about they think about, okay, what can I do for this person for what they can do for me?
Yeah, and it's not about favors. It should never be about favors. If it's about favors for you, then you need to like reevaluate the way that you look at yourself, the way that you look at everything.
Yeah, and the way you look at life ultimately, because life isn't going to give you any favors. It's not going to do you any favors. You get put through the hard things because you need them.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be hard.
Right.
Like for example, I'm about to have to do this event thing, um, and it's going to be hard. I fully understand it's going to be a hard thing to do, but it's a necessary difficulty
Right.
in order for me to become a little bit better as a person. So when you think about it, instead of being drowned out by your challenges in life, you kind of need to use them as a flotation device. Or maybe that's a bad analogy, but like something sort of like that. You need to use them as the motivation to like light the fire under your ass, and get going.
Right. And you don't always have to win. It's
No, you don't.
you know, like whether you win or not, you at least tried, right?
Yeah. And
You
that's
gave it
that's
up.
hard to say because I come from a culture where winning matters and winning does matter. But if there's an instance where like even if you don't win, you still learn where
Hmm.
you are weak
Yeah.
and you learn how to control those weaknesses and turn them into strengths.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like when I'm playing video games. Like I'm real competitive on a lot of the FPS games. Like
Yeah.
in any like shooter game, I'm competitive. So like when I when I get outplayed, when I die, my team loses. Like yeah, I'm really upset because it's like, dang, dude, I want to win because I'm competitive. Like it's in my heart. But at the same time, it's like they'll kill me and I'll watch the kill cam and I'm just like, oh, okay, maybe I shouldn't have come running around the corner that fast.
Mhm.
I should have done this and that. And that I mean, I guess that's just the easiest way for me to explain like this, reflect on why you lost, how you lost, and just redo it. You don't have to redo that race again, but you know what I'm saying? Like
The
learn
next
from
time
it.
the next time you're in a position that's sort of similar, remember the last time. Remember why you lost
Mhm.
or what you didn't do as good at,
Yep.
and work on that and train that
Yeah.
and get stronger. That's all you can do.
Yep. Pick it back up and regroup.
Yep. And
So
then so the example you had given, right, is you learning in real time a lesson.
right.
And
Where I went wrong, how I could have done better.
exactly. Sometimes, I know for me that I can think of countless times it's you don't it's hard to learn those real-time lessons. So you have
Oh
to
yeah.
think, you have to like look back on it hard. And this is kind of the meaning behind the name too of the podcast. Sometimes you have to reflect on your life as a whole, or maybe like a portion of your life, a chapter of your life. And that could be a span of like a couple months or a span of years, decades, in order for you to learn like what what did you do that you could have done better or you should have done,
Right.
whatever it may be.
And I mean, uh, like I said earlier when I was telling you, don't just stop writing, just take a break from writing. Like, don't ever be scared to just put it down for a minute. Take your mind off of it. Don't think about it. Just leave it alone. Because there's been plenty of things where I'm like, you know what, dude? Like, I don't care right now. I can't do it no more. I'm overstimulated. I'm upset about it, and I just walk away from it. And then there's there's been situations where I've done that, and it's like a week later, a month later, or sometimes even like an hour later. I'm like, oh yeah, hold on, I could do that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But when it doesn't, you just do it again. Just
A good example, right, is like if you've ever been in an argument with someone and in the time, like in the moment, you couldn't think of a good comeback. But then like 2 hours later, when you're like eating dinner or you're like laying down for bed, you're like,
mm-hmm.
damn, I should have said that. That's what I should have
Right.
said. That would have been great. It's exactly the same thing, it's sometimes you have to slow down and slow your brain down to
Mm-hmm.
think about, because I know a lot of people that struggle with anxiety and um, ADHD, stuff like that, that where their brain is constantly racing. Sometimes you have to force yourself to kind of pump the brakes
Yeah.
and think about what you're doing or think about what you're about to say. That way, one, you don't say anything stupid and do anything stupid that you're going
Right.
to ultimately regret. And two,
Yeah.
you give the most meaningful responses that way.
Yeah.
And it's not because you thought about it and like this is what's best for the situation, but you're thinking about the response that you because it's a part of you, right? Like it's coming from you. So like when you think about it, it's a true version of a part of you, as opposed to just saying something out of the blue or doing something out of the blue. I know like there's been a lot of cases, I've had people in my life hurt themselves and then, not be able to come back from it. A lot of the times when they're feeling that way, they don't really think about anything else. And
Right.
despite the fact that they may or may not have had someone to talk to, they make really irrational decisions.
And
And
I mean, it's just human nature. It happens.
yeah, unfortunately, yeah, it is a reality,
Yeah.
and it sucks. But again, that kind of goes back to the whole point of doing this, is
Right.
to allow someone, even just one person, if there was just one person out of anybody that ever views this podcast, there's one person that is able to take what we talk about and implement it and change their lives, we've done our job.
Right.
That's all that matters.
And a couple of things to continue on that bit of the conversation. Don't ever beat yourself up about what you did and didn't do, because it just might make the situation worse. Like yeah, it's okay to be like, dang, I should have done this, I should have done that, but don't just narrow in on that part. You realize your mess up, or whatever, you realize you're right or wrong, and you work off of it. But yeah, if we've only helped one person, then we've only helped one person, and you don't ever have to thank any of us for it. We don't expect any of that. It's it's not for gratification or anything like that. It's just because it's simply something that we want to do.
Exactly. Like,
Because there
yeah,
might
you
be
can't,
episodes where this is what we needed,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, you can't hyper focus on your mistakes because they're always, when you do that, there are always going to be mistakes.
Right.
They'll, but the point of it is you should look at them as lessons to be learned. And then it doesn't really, when you think about it that way, it doesn't really feel so much as a mistake as it does, oh, this needed to happen in my life. So I was able to understand this a little bit better or understand myself a little bit better.
Right.
Or maybe it's a relationship you can understand your partner a little better or
Right.
whatever it may be.
And that's kind of why we went through a lot of like logos or profile picture, whatever you want to call it. We went through a lot of them, and that's kind of why we settled on the one that we settled on. At least if it's like for a temporary one, because if you go look at it, whether it be in the Discord, on Twitter, or wherever you see it, like notice that it's not just two people at a table because it's
Yeah.
not just two people talking, bro. It's us. It's me, him, and you. You know what I'm saying? It's you, him,
Yeah.
and I. It's this is our conversation, not just mine and his. You know?
Yeah. And that's the whole point of like wanting to, we encourage people to be active in, the Discord on other different platforms of social media because yeah, you're part of the viewer is the part of the conversation is a big part of the conversation right now because
Mm-hmm.
me and him we're good, but we have so much knowledge and experience in certain things, certain aspects of life that a lot of people don't have. And
Or realize that they have.
or realize that they have. Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it just takes someone else to be like, "Hey, come sit down, come listen." You know,
Right.
it's not
Exactly.
as hard as you think to reach out to someone.
Exactly. And for some of the things that like we don't reach out on, especially for me myself, and the only reason I'm mentioning this is because every time I look at my camera, I see the ring on my finger. But because that means a lot to me. But for some of the things where I'm just like I'm going through it, like I'm thinking about some stuff that's kind of got me messed up. Like it's like not that deep, or it's just like okay, that kind of sucks. That I don't really want to like talk about, or it's just not enough that like I really need help because I can just figure it out myself. I tend to look at the things that like got me to where I'm at, like the position that I'm in, and it's not just solely her. It's a big part of me too, and the people that I surround around myself. But the biggest thing that I'm always looking at is like I would not be where I'm at if it wasn't for her. Like quite frankly, I wouldn't have the job that I have if it wasn't for her because I work with my father-in-law. I would have never gotten that job had it not been for him. So, I mean, sometimes you kind of have to use those people to like lean on, even if you don't physically lean on them and it's in your head, it's between you and yourself. But I do that a lot because like yeah, sure, I probably would have gotten a decent job. I probably would have ended up getting a computer and streaming and doing the things that I do, but I don't think, at least personally, I don't think that I would have been able to do it the way that I'm doing it and how I got to be doing it if it wasn't for the woman that I married. And I mean, I could be wrong. I could have, for all I know, I could have probably been in a better position, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. You could offer me any amount of money in the world, and I would tell you to get lost because it's not about the money and it's not about a greener side of the fucking picture. I want what I have. I have what I want, and I am more than okay with that.
And you said something that kind of stuck with me just now. You use the people in your life, and I think that needs to be clarified, right? Like when you are in any type of relationship, and I mean that in the most broadest sense, whether it be a emotional relationship, a friendship,
Platonic,
in
whatever.
whatever, yeah, right? Like even a coworker, right? Humans use other humans. It's human nature. That's just built in how we are. We cannot survive on our own. we just can't. We just can't. And if we do, it's so much harder. It's
Hmm.
so much harder. And
Yeah.
so use the people in your life to make you a better person. That's not to say to take advantage.
Yes.
That's
But
obviously a you know wrong,
do
right?
not.
It's morally and ethically wrong is to take advantage of someone. But use them to outline your flaws, to see where you need to be a better person,
Hmm.
to see where you are a good person and to share that with them, with the rest of the world. It's not fair. And I've always kind of held this belief when when we leave this earth, wherever we may go, um, we can't take with us the things that we have, the physical things,
Yeah.
but we can leave behind so much. So why not leave behind something good, you know?
Exactly.
Like some kind of effect
Exactly.
on someone's life that helped them or that
Hmm.
literally changed the way that they are, the person that they are. Like I can count on, like I don't even have enough hands or feet to count the many times that I've come across a person, whether it be, like I said, any sort of relationship. Um, how many times a person has changed my outlook on things or physically changed the way that I act
Yep.
or who that I am as a person.
Exactly.
Even some of my core values have changed. They're just now growing into what I feel like they'll probably be for the rest of my life. And
Right.
it's all due to the people that I've allowed into my life. You have
Hmm.
control over them. You have
Yeah.
control over who comes in and goes out of your life.
Yeah. And in a way, you are what you hang out with.
Yeah, you are.
Because if you're allowing somebody that's just always toxic, always in drama, and it it starts to stick to you, you know? Like hang out with one of your friends for like a week straight and start noticing that some of the things that they say, some of the lingo, some of the slang, whatever it is, it starts to stick to you, you know? That it's just how it is. Your brain is just I guess your brain is just built to function that way, you know?
A good example of that, right, is I don't remember exactly where I learned it years ago though. When you start to learn a new language and you start to really dive into that language, you start to change your culture, your internal culture.
Mhm.
You change how you think, you change how you act, and it's all because that particular thing that you're learning is tied to a culture that's beyond you.
All right.
And so, like you said, the more you surround yourself with these certain things, the the more you start to change and you adapt those ways of thinking.
Exactly.
A good movie to kind of prove that is The Arrival, when the little alien pods come down and they all split up and she starts to learn the language and stuff. She started to
Exactly.
change who she was and how she thought because
Hmm.
she was diving so deep into this language.
Yep.
So yeah, just remember, like, yeah, you have control over those things. You have control of
Right.
who's in your life and what lessons you learn.
And then for for me to backtrack a little bit, um, back to the whole like significant other, your partner, or, you know, your emotional attachment that you have to one person, you know, like the person that you spend the rest of your life with, whatever. Uh, it's hard not to argue, but you definitely need to find some kind of way to communicate because and that's not to say that me and my wife don't argue, but I've learned that throughout all the years that me and her have been together, which is 10 years this year and 2 years married this year, um the arguments that we tend to have is petty arguments, you know? Like I come home, we leave the air on 74 when we're not home. so the house doesn't freeze out, and what have you. That's just what she does. I let her do it. And then I come home, it's hot, I'm sweaty, I want to turn the air on and cool off before I take a shower. Well, she'll come home and she'll be like, "Why'd you put it on such a low number?" Like let it be those petty arguments, not the arguments that are like, "Oh, well, you don't do this and you don't do that." Like, sure, those are still gonna happen because we're humans are forgetful. You'll forget to take the trash out. You'll forget to do whatever. But just find that way to communicate about the things that are the problem, even if you have to initiate it. Like, hey, I see that you're kind of doing this and that, and I don't really like that. Like, just do it. Find that communication. Don't let everything be an argument. Like the petty arguments, let it be those. Let it be they're kind of upset because you overcooked the burgers. Like,
Yeah.
that's whatever. It's a dumb thing to argue about. I would much rather argue about the fact that I put too much water in the mashed potatoes by accident than to sit here and argue with you about the fact that we couldn't pay rent. Like,
Right. Yeah. Let it be things that, when you look back at it, and I'll use the example that you've developed that I told you a long time ago. Think about what you're arguing about and think about, am I going to be mad at this in 5 minutes? And if you
mm-hmm.
say yes, then all right, am I going to be mad at this in 5 hours? And just keep going up 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years. And think about how insignificant what you're arguing about is versus and choose those over the what's the word for it? Over those life-changing arguments. You know,
Right.
pick your battles is kind of what I'm getting at. Pick your battles because just a few words can take your life in a totally different direction for better or
Completely
worse.
different direction. And I can't speak for everybody else's relationship, but for me and my wife, some of the arguments that we have gotten into, I think I'm right. She thinks she's right. I think she's wrong. She thinks I'm wrong. It's not really about that, though. It's about the fact that we argued about whatever we argued about. I might have been like, okay, like she did say that, and I'm kind of in the wrong about that. You don't have to specifically go to that person and be like, hey, yeah, you were right about the fact that I haven't been doing this and that. Just even if you're in the right and you know it, and they're that distraught about it, just go up and apologize for it. Don't apologize for, what you did or didn't do. You don't have to say nothing else than just, I'm sorry. Like that. Sometimes that is enough cuz I have done that, and it changes the whole thing. It's not so much that I'm sorry that I haven't been doing these things or that I have been doing things. It's more that, like, I'm sorry we got to the point that we had to argue about it.
Right. Yeah.
That I should have realized the things that I was doing or wasn't doing. And now that you've laid it out on the table, although we could have handled it differently, I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's definitely important to have those. And people don't like it because it makes people uncomfortable, and people don't like feeling uncomfortable. But have those difficult conversations. Have those conversations, whether it be
Yeah.
with your partner or, if you have issues in your relationship or with your friends, um, have those conversations that make you guys feel uncomfortable because it
Yeah.
grows you guys. It shows you where you're at and where you want to go, and it helps out a lot. You can't be comfortable and grow.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. At
And
least it's never worked for me.
please realize when it's turning into an argument, whether they raise their voice first or you raise your voice first. You know, you start to raise your voice, tone it down, realize like, okay, we shouldn't argue about this. We need to talk about this. We need to. I don't necessarily want to say we be adults about it, but like be mature about it.
And
Like,
that's another thing to to kind of spin off of that, if you realize that like, hey, what you're talking about is building up into something that could be damaging, take a break from it. Come back to it when you guys are thinking a little more
Right.
clearly or a little more level-headed.
Right.
Not
Even if
all hard conversations have to be done
yeah.
immediately.
And I mean, even if the way that you walked away from it or they walked away from it was like, whatever, I don't care anymore. Like, let it be that then. Let it be that because y'all are both gonna go into your separate rooms. You're gonna go outside or wherever it is where y'all separate from, and at some point you're gonna come back to each other and hopefully talk about it.
I think one thing for me, that I've always looked for, specifically in relationships or in marriage or whatever, is that, well, it's two things, right? Is one, don't ever go to bed mad or upset at each other, because then you harbor those feelings while you sleep, and sleep is supposed to be a place where you go to rest, and you
Yeah.
don't get proper rest when you have those negative emotions. And two, um, if you do have to walk away from a topic or a conversation, it's fine to do that, but acknowledge, hey, right now this is too much for me. I do want to continue this, but
On a lighter
I'm
note.
just not feeling, very well right now.
Mm-hmm.
We need to take a step back and continue this conversation at a later time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you
And
said, be mature about it.
yeah.
Acknowledge how you're feeling and how they're feeling, and think of the best approach about it. Because at the end of the day, right, arguing and yelling at each other, it gets nothing done. If
No.
anything, it just splits people up
Mm-hmm.
a lot faster.
Well,
And if
because
that's all
also
you find yourself doing, then you need to reevaluate how you communicate
right. Well, I
with
mean,
your
also because when you're arguing like that and you're both raising your voice, a lot of that is just like it's angry emotion. Sometimes you're saying things that you don't actually mean, and it's just because you're so mad that you're just saying it.
yeah.
So like when you keep that level head and you try to stay calm about it, even if it is the hardest thing that you have done today, you know you're listening to what they're saying, you're processing it, and you're taking that time to like, okay, let me think about exactly what they just said, and then I'll give my input. Because when you're just mad, like I said, you're just like, oh, you didn't do this. Well, I did it this time. It's not about that you did it this time or you didn't do it this time. You know,
Yeah.
because if somebody's that upset about something and they're raising their voice at you about it, it's probably been a long time since you have or have not done something. So,
One thing
it,
that I've always done, if ever there's a conversation to be had that, is really deep and needs to be had, one thing that I've liked to do is find a place that me and the other person could go and have privacy, but also be uncomfortable, right? We have that safety and security to be uncomfortable, like with each other and with where we're at.
yeah,
Because
like go to
when you're
dinner and
const
talk about it.
exactly, right? Because when you're in your house, or wherever, when you're in a place that you feel comfortable, again, you don't grow. That's the point.
No,
And it there's a higher tendency for you to want to get those like angry emotions out a lot easier. And when you're in especially a public place, right? Obviously nobody wants to be embarrassed in public.
right,
So, and that goes for both parties. It's not supposed to be like a trap or anything to the other person. When you're in a public place, you kind of have to kind of quiet down and think about what you're saying, you know and come to a sort of conclusion. Even if it doesn't, you still have that option of saying, "Hey, I can't do this right now. Can we do this at a later date?"
right.
And continue and pick it back up.
Hmm.
But yeah, dude, communication in all fronts,
Yeah,
not
not
just
just
in a
with a partner.
relationship. Yeah,
Yeah. I
in
mean,
in
with
in
your
all
friends,
fronts is very important.
with your friends. I mean, I can't recall how many times we've probably been in a situation like that because it's not very often because we're both very open with each other about everything, you know. But like, yeah, even with your friends, like I see Steven doing something that I don't like, you know, I'm just gonna tell him, hey, bro, like I don't really
Yeah,
appreciate that you're, you know, calling me these names. I don't really like that, you know.
yeah,
And
definitely
you know,
call out your friends, and if they don't like it, truth be told,
they're
probably
probably
not your
not your friend.
friends.
Probably not your friend. Let's be honest, you know. And I
Because
mean, it's
if they can do that to you and you can't do that to them, then
right,
obviously, friendship isn't a one-way road,
right.
you know, or just having a relationship with anyone, any kind of contact with anyone. It's not a one-way road. It's a two-way
Mm-hmm.
road, right? Like people hear the sayings a lot. The phone works both ways, and
Yeah.
that's very true. That's very true with, just talking to someone in general.
And stop calling on them first and see if they call on you first.
hmm I
You know.
can't tell you how many times that as much as it hurt, and God, it hurts, but I've done that to quite a few people, and you start to realize where their true intentions were. You
Right.
start to realize how they really think about you, because sometimes silence is deafening.
Well, sometimes you also got to realize, like there was the point where you weren't even in this country, and
Mhm.
there would be days that you wouldn't hit me up, but it it wasn't the fact that like he didn't care about me or he felt some type of way or he wasn't getting what he wanted. It was just strictly because he's 14 hours ahead of me and he's doing his
Right,
job.
yeah,
Like he's
yeah,
at work. Like he'll get to me when he can. Cause there was one time that I texted you and I didn't get a text back for like a week. And I
yeah.
was like, well, you know, the man's busy. He's at work. Like he'll
And
text me back,
yeah, and
you know?
that's another part of it too. Obviously, be mindful of. I would like to say that me and you have a pretty fairly healthy friendship. We don't really argue with each other.
No. We have
We
physically
do.
butted heads, but that's a different story.
Yes.
We have
Yeah,
physically butted heads, but that was
yeah,
because of a car wreck.
yeah.
So,
But yeah, me and Alex, we have a pretty healthy uh relationship with each other, and it's easy for us to be able to do that. But if you're going through shit with someone and your relationship isn't very healthy, then you have to be mindful of the other person. You have
right.
to be mindful of uh what they're doing and how their life is, and you can't just always think about uh how you feel.
Yeah. Well, because like
It's
I mean that's why I said something because sometimes it is a case where they physically cannot hit you up first. You know, they
yeah,
might be thinking about it, but they physically can't. Like they whatever it is they do for work or wherever they're at, they don't have phone service or their work is just it's so busy and so demanding that they just don't even have the time to check their phone. You know, because and I mean you'll kind of know like I guess it's kind of hard to explain, but like I know when I texted him and he didn't reply, like it wasn't because he didn't want to, is because he was busy, and I know that he's over there. He probably seen it and was like, all right, I'll text him back later. I'm just busy. Like he's thinking about me, you know. He didn't forget about me. He does still care. He just doesn't have the time to even show it. So yeah, definitely just be mindful of the other person's like situation. You know, don't just don't just like oh I'm gonna stop hitting them up first just to see if they hit me up first because they could be going through something too. You know, and they're sitting there waiting for you to hit them up so they can tell you. You know.
yeah. And in the same token, right? Like you you can't consistently blow someone up because you need answers,
Yeah,
right? It doesn't work that way.
and that also falls back into like look for the signs because you know even if it's somebody that doesn't hit you up all the time but you up once in a while and then they stop kind of hitting you up because you stop hitting them up, maybe it is because they're going through something, you know? It could be that case, you know? But sometimes you just don't know until you know.
Yeah, unfortunately, like a lot of people are kind of still stuck in this mindset of tit for tat, right? An eye for an eye, things like
Right.
that. And it's a damaging thing to a lot of could be really good friendships or relationships because you're constantly always, what can this person do for me, or what can I do to this person, and things,
Hmm.
stuff like that. And you have to fight to not think about that, to not
Right.
to change your mindset about that because it's not
Right. I
about
mean,
that.
because that's a very hard thing to to combat because it's like, oh well, while Stephen was, why he was on leave, he was staying at my house, like he owes me. Oh, that man doesn't owe me nothing. I told him he could stay at my house because he was like, I don't know where I'm gonna go. I guess I'm gonna have to get bullshit. You're getting a hotel.
Yeah, I did say that. I did say that,
Yeah,
and I was fully prepared to be like, okay, well, it's fine.
yeah.
I
And
wouldn't have
see,
been, if he would have been
that's
like, hey, yeah, no, I really can't do it. I would have
right,
not felt any different than I do now. It would have been like, all right, it is what it is,
right, exactly. And it's just that's just how you are as a person because you don't want to feel like a burden. But like in
Yeah,
the same sense, like I had I had like a short week at work or whatever, one of those weeks that you were here. And I didn't even want to I literally didn't want to ask you, but you also did offer it. I was like, can you at least give her a little bit of money to buy some groceries? He's like, yeah, I got you. Like I'm living here for the month. Like, yeah, you know,
yeah, and to
it
me, in
wasn't
my mind, right, that's sort of kind of expected.
right. And it wasn't just because like, oh, he's letting me stay here, I should help out because he could have just stayed here for free. Like it's not about that. It's about the fact that we look out for each other. But it was just like, he was thinking, okay, well, yeah, I kind of have been using stuff, been taking
Yeah,
showers, and we've made dinner and eaten, and like, and they're paying for it. Yeah, the least I can do is shoot a couple bucks. But that still falls into like, don't do it because they did it for you. Just do it because it's just like it's the right thing to do because you're a good friend.
yeah,
Like I said from the beginning of saying that, like he didn't have to give me anything. It's the fact that I helped him save money by not having to get a hotel, and regardless of that, I don't really have a whole lot of room in my house, but I have a spot you can sleep, so use it, bro. Like, because you sleeping in my living room is no burden to me. I'm still gonna get up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm gonna go to work, and I'll see you when I get off. Like,
do the same routine as
and
you normally have. Only
and I
difference
mean,
is now you're gonna have somebody to game with right next to you.
right next to me, and honestly, it was in a way it was kind of like a good thing too, because it was like because like sometimes my wife will get home before me, but like sometimes I'll get home first because there's nothing to do at work. My job doesn't care if I go home. But for her, it's like, all right, well, I gotta at least finish this, even if I go an hour over. So like sometimes I'd come home or she'd come. It didn't matter who came home first, but like the dishes would be done, the trash would be taken out, and this man would just wake up and just do his laundry, take a shower, whatever, and then just clean my house. So it was kind of nice to like
Random
come
shit.
home. Yeah, it was kind of nice to just come home and be like, damn, like I ain't even got to do the litter box today. Like my bro already did it.
Yeah, I mean, and then that's another bit of homework. Next, by the next episode, or well, by the next time we stream, I need the definition. I know it, and I think I've told you before, but I need the definition from you guys of altruism.
Say again, it cut out.
Altruism.
Altruism,
Altruism.
altruism.
Yes. I want the definition from everybody who's listening, or I don't care if it's on YouTube or whatever platform. Go to the fucking some comment section somewhere and give me the definition of that. that lets me know that one, you've stayed this long, and two, you've actually listened to what we've been talking about.
Hmm.
Because ultimately, I think we found the topic of this particular episode, and we just kind of we notice. Well, you can't notice, but we didn't really have a whole lot planned to talk about. We had basic stuff that we were going to run through, and it's mainly just sort of like really, again, just basic stuff.
Yeah.
And we kind of just trail on, and it ends up being a great conversation.
Hmm.
But
I
with
mean,
that being said, right,
if if hearing it was all you needed, thank you.
yeah,
Truly, thank you. If
you don't even
all you
have to
needed was
reach
that.
out to let us know. That's fine. If it helps, it
Hmm.
helps. If it doesn't, then tune into the next episode. That might help too.
Hmm. But I will in the Discord before we close it out here. I will in the Discord. I will get well. He'll have to do it, but I will get him together for it. Uh, I will put in there a confession bot for anybody who does wants to say anything, but doesn't want to be known. They just want to be heard. They just want somebody to listen. We will put a confession bot in there, so
Yeah,
you can go into the Discord, and I'm sure we'll have it in the Discord of how to do it. But I already know how it works. You'll do slash confess, and then you'll type out whatever it is you want to type out. And
yeah,
please use it for the right thing. Don't make us get rid of it. You know
yeah,
what like and you know what I mean by the right thing. Don't use it for hate or anything like that, please.
yeah. If there's,
So
things that you feel that you need to get out, that's fine.
yeah,
But again, be mindful of other people, the other people that use it, and
yeah,
obviously we have moderators that are going to be looking at everything. So,
yeah. And now with the moderators being said, when you do slash confess, not even the moderator themselves, the person that added the bot, nobody can see who posted.
right, yeah,
And that's why I say
it'd be a completely anonymous. So,
yeah, and that's why I say please use it for the right thing. Because me personally, I will at everybody and somebody's gonna say something. So
mhm, yeah,
because if you use it for the wrong thing, I'm gonna try my hardest to figure out who it was. And I don't wanna have to let's just
yeah.
let's just be mature about things and help each other. It is
Mhm.
it is we. It is we.
So
Okay?
but yeah, so the Discord is gonna get some updates. It's still pretty bare right now. Um, this particular episode, so the way that the scheduling is probably gonna work is we will go live on Twitch and possibly kick every Saturday, depending on our personal schedules.
Mhm.
Um, and then the following Monday is when all of
Oh,
the
okay.
recordings will be posted, whether it be Spotify, YouTube, whatever else. If we clip anything, it'll probably go on like Instagram. I don't really do TikTok like that, but I might look into it. So that's going to be our
I'm
schedule. It'll be in some bio somewhere with one of our names on it. You'll be able to find it.
yep. Well,
More
and
more than likely the YouTube video.
everything will probably always be branded under Whispered Reflections, so we'll be kind
Yes,
of kind of easy to find.
yes. Um,
So,
any topics that any of the viewers want to talk about, on the podcast, feel free to join the Discord or leave a comment somewhere. Let us
mhm.
know somehow, even DM one of us.
Yeah, the
That's
DMs are
totally
always
fine.
open.
Yeah.
And if for some reason you want to get on here and talk about it, then please,
Yeah, we're
please.
definitely open to having guests on here.
Yeah,
Obviously, we'll give you like a little bit of a briefing as to how the format of this show is going to be.
yeah.
Um, you could probably tell the differences, the ones that watch our individual streams. You can probably tell the differences of how this is more of a serious thing than it is when we play
Yeah.
video games. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because if you find our personals, our personal Twitch, Instagram, whatever it may be, you you might hear or see some things that's like, holy crap, I didn't think I would. But a lot of it is just content. It's we're in our personal streams. It's funny moments. So yes, this
Yeah,
this is more of a like open up and actually be serious.
yeah. And we've actually had to tell a lot of our friends to be like, hey, let's pump the brakes while we're doing this, so
Right.
we
Yeah.
we can take it a little more seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, as far as times go, we don't really have set times. Just be looking Saturdays and Mondays. The subject,
Saturdays for the stream, Mondays for the uploads.
yeah, it is still subject to change, but as of right now, that is what we're going to be going with because it works best with our schedules.
Yep.
There is holidays coming up, so second episode may or may not be delayed. I don't know yet.
Um, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, obviously, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, hit the little bell notification. You'll always be able to know when we go have a new upload, and on Twitch, you can have updates on, so you know when we go live, at least one of us, right? That
Yep.
way you can tune in live. The edits for the video, if you watch the stream, you might get a little more uh, than what you see in the YouTube videos. It really just depends on
Yep.
editing and how that goes. But
Exactly. So with that being said, I appreciate each and every one of you for listening to Whispered Reflections with Steven and Alex. And keep your head up. Just
yes,
keep working at it.
that-
Keep your head up. Nothing is ever that serious. I love each and every one of you.
yes, most definitely. Always keep
And
pushing forward and never be afraid to ask for help from someone.
yep. I'll see you guys on the next one.
Yep.
Love you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you, bye.